Hello guys, I'm Yadagiri Reddy and welcome to my channel hyrtutorials. In this video, we will try to create a basic extend report. We are not going to add so many things into the extend reports, but we will try to create a very simple extend report. So just create another class that is called chapter 3. For every chapter, I am creating one class file guys. I'll try to give all these codes also to you. So here, first you need to add this line. Extend reports and then your variable name. So I'll always give the extend reports only for the variable name also. It's easy to understand. Extend reports equal new extend reports. First you need to create one object for extend reports class. So this is one of the main class guys. It's like an engine. Okay. So it's like kind of a report engine you can say. Okay. So report engine for extend reports. So this is the class that will actually create the reports for you. You got it? So first we need to add one instance for this one. And then under the extend reports, there will be so many reporters guys. So these are all the reporters that are available under the extend reports. So each reporter is like kind of a destination thing. So when you are creating any report, right, which kind of report you want to create? Extend reports is the main engine. But under that, you can create multiple types of reports, right? So you can create the Spark reporter, you can create the event reporter, you can create the emailable reporter, and you can create the Clo reporter. So which type of report you want to design, that you need to decide. So if you decide which type of report you want to create, based on that, you need to create another object. You got it? So here I'm going to create the Spark reporter. This Spark reporter and this Clo reporter are only open source. The other two are pro versions. You can see it is clearly mentioned pro here, right? That means these are the pro versions. That means you need to pay some amount to use these things. But extend report Spark reporter and extend Clo reporter are open source, means community version. Anybody can use them. But we are not going to look at the Clo reporter because it's kind of a dynamic reporter. So we are not going into all those things, but we will try to see the extend Spark reporter only. Okay. So just copy this line guys and just paste it there, or we can directly write also. It's not a big thing. So just type extend Spark reporter. The class name itself extend Spark reporter. So type extend spa and just press Ctrl space. It will give you auto suggestions, right? Extend Spark reporter. And for this, I'm going to create the object. Correct? So let's say Spark reporter. And give a space and then create the object. While you are creating the object for this, you see, it is giving two types of constructors, right? One is with the file parameter and the other one is with the path parameter. What exactly it is? So let me tell you. So whenever you are creating any reporter object, so this is the engine, okay? But this is the reporter object. When you are creating the reporter object, in that time itself, you have to mention where you want to create your report. All the destination details also you need to mention while you are creating the Spark reporter instance itself. Clear? So here for that there are two options. I'll show you both the options guys, don't worry. One is directly passing the path, like where you want to create the file. So let's say I want to create it under any specific folder first. Let's go to the same project directory itself. I'll try to give absolute path and then relative path also. So let's open this and let me copy the same entire thing and go here. So here I'll just paste that, and within this I want to mention the file name. It's just a path name, right? But I want to mention the file name also in this. / I will say test or report.html, because every report is a HTML file. Correct? Every report is a HTML file. If you open the website, so this is the example, right? You see spark.html. So it is a web page basically. So for any web page, what is the extension? HTML is the extension. Forget about PHP, ASP, all these things. There are some extensions, but they are specifically designed for the technologies. Like if you use PHP, you will get .php extension. If you use Java, JSP, you will get .jsp extension. If you use ASP.NET, you will get ASPX extension. But we are not going to use any of those things. We are going to create a simple plain HTML report, right? So that is why our extension is always HTML. Fine. So we will mention the HTML extension. So this is how you have to mention your path. So it's actually an absolute path, guys. That means the entire path you are mentioning, right? So let me minimize this. So you see, from the workspace, like from which directory and what is the folder and what is the workspace and what is the project name, and then in that project what is the file name. So the entire absolute path we are mentioning, right? First let's create one report with this entire absolute path, then we will see the variations, like how to provide the relative path and how to use the file option in this one. All those things I will show you, right? So now we have created the Spark reporter object also. When you create the reporter object, so this is a reporter, guys. When I say reporter, you need to remember this. When I say engine, you need to remember this one. So when you create any reporter object, this reporter you need to attach to the engine, correct? Just like how you have a train, for every engine you can attach a different bogie, correct? So engine can be separated and bogie can be separated. So in the similar way, for this engine, for this extend reports engine, which reporter you want to attach? We have 4 type of reporters here, right? So which reporter you want to actually attach? So where is that? So we have 4 type of reporters. Which reporter you want to attach, that you need to mention. Okay, how do we mention that? It's easy. With one line of code, you can mention that. Extend reports dot attach reporter. Okay, we are attaching it. So the name of the method is attach reporter. Select that method and you need to pass the reporter object here. So this is the reporter object. Fine. So we have created the extend reports engine and we have created the reporter instance and we attached the instance also. Right? So now if you try to run this, it should create the file for you. We haven't added any data here, but at least it should create the dummy report for you with 0 number of test cases. Correct? Let's try to see whether we can get the report or not. So I'll run as Java application and we are not getting any errors in the console because we are not printing anything and no error also. So let's go to the same location and see whether report is created or not. So this is the project location. And even if you refresh, the report is not created here, right? But why the report is not created? That is because whenever you are creating the extend reports, there is one option, guys. There is one option called flush. So when you are done with reporting, you need to flush it. I don't have to give the example for you. You all knew why we do use the flush in our real time, right? So I don't want to give that dirty example here. So that is when you use the flush. When you are done with the things, then you will flush it, right? So similarly, here also we need to flush the reporting. When you flush it, then only this engine will actually create the report for you. Okay. So on top of the engine, you have a method called flush. So just use the flush method here. Then the report will be created. Correct? When do you need to use this flush? Once you are done with entire things. That means once you added all your test cases, logs and screenshots and all the things, you need to use the flush. So now let's run this program again. So we are not getting any errors and no output also because we are not printing anything. Now let's go to the same location and you can see there is a report, right? Report.html. Let me open this one in the Chrome. So this is the default report, guys. That means you haven't added any single test case inside that, right? So whenever you create a dummy report, one plain report with 0 number of test cases, this is how your report looks like. So you have an icon here and you have a search bar and you have the date, like when the report is created, and you have only 2 options here. But in this, we have so many options, right? But here we are getting only 2 options. That is because we are not having any data here. Based on the data, you will get all these options. But you don't have any data here. That is why we are getting only 2 options. One is test and the other one is dashboard. These 2 are like mandatory options, guys. Okay, if you want to see the individual test, we need to have the test option. If you want to see the dashboard, like all the statistics, then we need to have the dashboard. Correct? But the rest of the things like exceptions and tags and devices and authors are only coming when you actually use these things. When you provide the author details to any test case, then only authors tab will come. When you provide any categories or tags or groups to any test case, then only you will get the categories tab. when you log any exception, then only you will get the exceptions tab. Correct? But by default, you will always get two tabs. One is test tab and the other one is dashboard. Fine. So these two are actually generated here. You can see when the report generation is started and when the report generation is ended, and how many test cases you have actually passed and how many are failed, and the chart also. Because it is 0 and 0, the chart is not displayed here. Fine. This is how your default basic report looks like. So next, let's see some more scenarios here. So now what we did, we created report.html file under the current project directory only, right? But we have used the absolute path here. That means the entire path we have used. But instead of this, you can use the relative path also. So if you remove the entire path and only specify the file name, then it will create the report.html file under the project directory directly. Okay, it will not create under any folder. It will be directly created under the project only. That means whatever the path is there for this one, under that it will create. That means here, guys. Okay, just like how this file is created, in the similar way it will create. But if you want to create any subfolder here, like let's say you want to create reports folder, and under the reports folder if you want to create this file, then you need to add the relative paths in this way. For example, you want to create the reports folder, right? So /reports, and under the reports you want to create the report.html. So if you want to create a folder and under that if you want to create a file, you need to follow this process, right? But I want to create the file under the project directory itself. So I'll write like this. And now let's execute this and see. And one more thing, guys. So here what we are doing, when we generate the file, we are going to the folder, whatever the folder that we have mentioned, and we are manually opening this file, right? But instead of that, there is an automated way also, guys. So whenever this file is generated, there is an automated way in which you can open that file directly. Okay. So let's do that. So there is something called desktop in Java. Desktop.getDesktop.browse file. So obviously our all files can be accessed from the desktop, right? So we are getting the desktop from the Java and we are trying to browse the file. But when you try to browse the file, it is asking the URI, right? So URI is also kind of a path, but that is only understandable to the system. Okay. But how do I get the URI? You no need to get the URI, guys. What you can do, you can create one file instance here. Okay. And mention the file path here. So anyway, I'm again referring to the current project only. So I'll say report.html. And then after the file instance is created, we have an option to get the URI of this file. So if you type to URI, you will get the URI of the file, guys. So that URI will be automatically fed into this browse method, right? If you use this line, any type of file you can open from the Java directly, right? So in which browser this will be opened? Whatever the default browser is there. So in every system, we can set one browser as a default browser, right? So in my system, Chrome is the default browser. So this file will be opened in the Chrome browser. But in your system, if there is a different default browser, it will be opened in that browser, guys. Okay. So let's run this. Now you see the magic happened. It just created the file and it automatically opened, right? So this is how you can create the file using the relative path also. Fine. And next we will see how to use the other option. So whenever we are creating this Spark Reporter instance, right, we have two options, correct? So what are those two options? One is a string and the other one is a file instance, right? You see, string path. Now we have seen path, like with absolute path we have seen, and with relative path also we have seen. And next we have something called file. So let's use this one. So what exactly is this file? Nothing else, guys. Whatever the path that you have mentioned, with that path you need to create one file instance. So this is the file instance, right? So similarly, you need to create one file instance here with whatever the file path you want to actually mention. So when you are creating the file instance, always make sure that your file is coming from java.io.file package. So this is how you are going to create the file instance and copy this file instance and pass it to extend Spark Reporter constructor and put a semicolon here. That's it. Okay. So now again, let's execute this and see. You see, it has created the file and it's just opened the file also. So this is very easy guys. Creating a basic HTML report is very easy. Till now what we did, we have created the basic HTML report, but we haven't even added a single test inside that, right? Every report should have at least 1 or 2 test cases, but we haven't added any single test inside this, right? If you see here, there are multiple tests. So all the tests are displayed here, right? Here you can see the header as test. All the tests will be displayed here. But in our report, there are no tests. That is because we haven't added any test. So let's add some test and let's create the basic HTML report. Okay. Let me close all these things and we'll keep only these 2 things. This is our documentation and this is the sample report, right? So now let's go back to this one and let's minimize this and let's create the test cases here. So where exactly do you need to create the test? Do you need to create the test under the Spark reporter or do you need to create the test under the extent reports? Where you need to create the test? Remember this point guys, all your test cases should be created directly under the extent reports. So just copy this one and paste it here. Dot, there is a method called create test. So call that method. So when you call that method, it has so many overloaded methods, right? One is accepting the name of the test and another one is accepting the Gherkin format model and the other one is accepting Gherkin keywords and all, and another one is accepting string name comma description and few more, right? So this extent reports is not only used for testng guys, it can also be used for JUnit and it can also be used for Cucumber and rest assured reports also. Okay, that means even for API testing also you can use this and even for BDD also you can use this. So for BDD support, they have added these methods, the second method and third method and this, how many it is, like 5th method and 6th method. So these methods are added as part of the BDD model. But for normal testng or JUnit, you can use first method and this 4th method. Okay, if you want to pass only the test case name, use the first method. If you want to pass the test case name as well as the description, use the 4th method. First, let's use only the test case name. I'll mention the test name as test1. So this will create the test. Fine. This will create the test and you want to make the test as pass or fail, right? By default, whenever you create any test, it will be pass only. Okay. So let me quickly show you that. Then we will go further guys. So I'll just create this. So now you see the test is created. The test status, if you see, it is pass. But nowhere I have mentioned this as a pass or fail or anything, right? By default, if you don't mention anything, the test status will be passed in the extent reports guys. Okay. If you don't mention any status like whether it is skipped or failed or passed, by default status is pass only. You got my point? So now we want to provide the status also. But how do you provide the status? For that, there is a method guys. For that, there is a method. So first let's create the instance for this. Okay. So this create test is returning extent test, right? Let's just add extent test here. So in this extent reports, everything you can just correlate guys. So if you want to create the reports name is extent reports. If you want to create the Spark reporter, the name is extent Spark reporter. So for everything, the starting word is extent. So if you want to create the test is called as extent test. Okay. Test1 and this one. So let me just align this and we need to import this one that is coming from com.eventstack.extent reports. Mostly everything will be coming from this one only guys. Only few things will be having a different import names. So now the test1 is created. For the test1, I want to add the status. In extent reports, there is no method for directly providing the status guys, like add status or something like that. There is no method. But if you provide any log details to any test, from within that log, it will try to identify the test status. Okay. In logs, we have multiple statuses like pass, fail and all. So if you want to make any test as pass, we need to provide the log details as passed. Okay. So how do I add the log details here? So if you want to add any log details, we have 2 methods. One is log method and the other one is directly the status like this, pass, fail, all those things. Okay. So if you want to make your test as passed, you need to add the log details of pass. So just select this one. So this has so many overloaded methods, you see. pass markup, media, string, throwable, all these things we have. So I'll show you only this method now, and later we will try to cover all the methods, guys. Okay. So first I'll just mention as this is pass. So let's use a different test here, and I'll just mention the test name as test2, and here also test2, and here also test2, right? So instead of using the pass method, now what I will do, I'll call the log method here. Okay, log. So inside this, you see, we have something called status, and we have something called markup or details, normal details also. First, let's add the status here. So this status is a enum that is coming from com.eventstack.event reports, extend reports. Okay. Under this, you have the statuses: fail, info, pass, skip, warning, right? So this time I want to fail the test, and I want to provide some details like this is a failed. So this is failed. Okay. Just like the above one. And let's enclose this. Okay. And let me create one more test, and I'll just make the test as skip. Okay. So this time we will try to create in a different way, guys. So instead of storing this entire instance into another variable, we no need to actually store it. Okay. Because there is a concept of method chaining that is implemented in extend reports. So on top of this, you can call this method directly. You no need to store this instance and all. Okay. So let me show you that. So you copy this instance and make this one as test3. So here you can directly put dot, and you can log the informations. Okay. You can access the log related methods, or you can access the other methods also, like fail method or pass method. So now I want to simply skip this one. So I'll just skip it. This is skipped. Fine. So I'm adding 3 different tests. The first one, I'm using pass method. So if you open this method, this is internally calling another method called pass. If you open that method, it is again internally calling which method? Log method only, right? So that is what we are calling here. That means this method and this method is same, but this is just like a simplified version of this method. Instead of writing this status and all, this is a simplified version. Correct? So now let's execute this and see. Now you see, guys, we have 3 test cases basically, and one is pass, one is failed, and one is skip. So different status is also updated here, right? So if you open the first test, we have logged this information. This is passed with the status of pass, right? So whenever you are logging that information, we have mentioned as pass. That means it will create a pass log here, right? And similarly, if you go to fail, this is failed. We have logged this as a failed log. So it is coming as a failed log. And this is we logged as a skipped log, right? So that is why skip is coming here. Like this, we have so many different log levels that we will discuss in our next video, guys. But this is just a normal basic HTML report with some test cases, right? So now if you go to the dashboard, you can clearly see the starting and ending and how many are passed and how many are failed. And here also you have the clear chart also, like how many pass and how many fail and how many skip, right? You can see. And log events also, how many log events you have and what is the status of those log events also. But if you go to the sample report and if you click on the dashboard, here there are so many other details also displayed, right? The author related information, tags, devices, and steps. All this information is also coming. But that information is not available in our sample report. That is because we haven't actually added that information to our report, guys. We haven't actually learned how to add those informations to our report, right? We will cover everything in our upcoming chapters. By the end of this course, we will try to create exactly one report like this. Okay, we will learn all the topics and all the concepts, and we will create exactly like this, guys. Okay, but for now, we have created only the sample report. Fine. So this is about the chapter 3, guys. So what exactly we have learned? We have seen how to create the extend reports using normal absolute path and also using the relative path and also using the file instance. And we have seen what is the importance of this flushed line also, right? And also we have added some test cases along with the status. And we have learned one more important thing, that is how to open the file automatically. This is nothing to do with the extend reports, but we have learned it as a like extra thing, guys. Okay, instead of going again and again opening the file manually, we have seen how to open the file automatically from the Java, right? So that is for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.